Picture this. You're in handcuffs, sitting in the back of a police cruiser, and the woman you married, the woman who sleeps beside you every night, just told detectives you're a drug dealer. She's crying. They believe her. And you're about to lose everything for a crime you didn't commit. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you never saw the knife coming? Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about a woman who loved someone else so much, she was willing to bury her husband alive to be free. If you've ever been lied to by someone you loved, this one's going to hurt. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up, because this story ends in blood. His name doesn't matter. What matters is what he was before everything fell apart. 29 years old, youth counselor in Charlotte, North Carolina. The kind of brother who showed up for kids nobody else believed in. He ran basketball leagues after school, talked teens out of bad decisions, became a mentor he wished he'd had growing up. See, when he was 19, he got popped with some weed and pills. Did 8 months in county. It wasn't much, but it was enough to teach him what he didn't want to become. When he got out, he cleaned up, got his certification, turned his mess into a message. He wasn't rich, drove a rusted-out sedan, wore the same jacket 3 seasons straight. But he had something money couldn't buy, purpose. And for 4 years, he shared that purpose with her. She was 31, nurse at a busy hospital downtown, quiet, religious upbringing, the kind of woman who kept her feelings locked in a box and her secrets even deeper. They met at a blood drive. He made her laugh. She made him feel seen. 6 months later, they were married in a small ceremony with barely anyone watching. It started sweet. Morning coffee, late-night talks, plans for the future. But somewhere along the way, the warmth faded. She stopped smiling, stopped touching him, started coming home later and later, claiming overtime or exhaustion. When he'd ask what was wrong, she'd shrug and say, nothing. When he'd try to hold her, she'd pull away like his hands burned. He gave her space, cooked her favorite meals, left notes on the bathroom mirror, did everything a man does when he's trying to save something that's already gone. Then she started talking about her co-worker, another nurse, a woman, bold, tattooed, unapologetic. She'd mention her constantly. How funny she was, how free she seemed, how different. At first, he didn't think much of it. People have friends. But the late nights got later. The texts got secretive. The phone stayed face down on every surface. One night, he finally asked, "You seeing her?" She looked at him like he'd slapped her. "What?" "I'm not stupid. Are you?" She laughed. "Cold. Sharp. You're paranoid. Maybe that's the real problem." He didn't push it. Didn't want to be that man. The jealous one. The controlling one. But deep down, he knew. What he didn't know was that she wasn't just seeing her. She was in love. The kind of love that makes you reckless. The kind that makes you desperate. And desperation? That's when people start making dangerous plans. Drop a comment if you've ever felt someone slipping away from you. Because what she did next, most people wouldn't believe it if it wasn't true. She didn't want a divorce. Divorces are messy. Her parents would disown her. The church would shun her. Her whole life would unravel in public. And she couldn't stomach that. She didn't want to explain why she was leaving a good man for a woman. Didn't want to face the whispers, the judgment, the shame. So she and her lover came up with something simpler. Make him disappear. Not kill him. No, that's too obvious. But ruin him. Send him somewhere he couldn't come back from. Somewhere no one would believe his side of the story. Her lover had a connection. A guy who moved product on the side. Pills, powder, whatever you needed. She met him one night behind a gas station, handed him cash, and walked away with a small bag of drugs. That bag? It was about to destroy a man's life. She waited for the right moment. One afternoon, while he was at work, she took his spare car key, drove to where he was parked, and popped the trunk. Her hands shook as she hid the drugs under the spare tire. She wiped down the surfaces, closed it, walked away like nothing happened. That night, she kissed him goodnight. The next morning, she made the call. Anonymous tip to the narcotics unit. A man selling drugs out of a community center. Preys on vulnerable kids. Check his car. They checked. 3 days later, he was pulled over on his way home from work. 2 officers. Routine stop, they said. Then they asked to search his vehicle. For what? Step out of the car, sir. When they opened the trunk and pulled out the bag, his whole world tilted. That's not mine. Sir, you're under arrest. At the station, he kept saying the same thing. I don't know how that got there. I swear, this isn't me. Then she showed up, tears streaming, voice shaking, told the detective she suspected something was off, said she'd found pills in his gym bag, said he'd been acting strange, said she thought he'd change after his first arrest, but maybe she was wrong. She looked him dead in the eye and lied, and they believed her. If this is making you sick, hit that like button and share this video. Because the system failed him completely, they offered her immunity if she testified. She took it without hesitation. At trial, she sat in that witness box and painted him as a fraud, a con man, a predator who used his job to sell to kids. The jury saw a man with a prior record, a bag of drugs in his car, a tearful wife on the stand. They didn't need much else. Guilty on all counts. The judge handed down the sentence without blinking. 20 years. No parole for 15. When they cuffed him and led him away, he looked back one last time. She didn't even meet his eyes. He went to prison for a crime he didn't commit. And she walked out of that courtroom, moved to another state, and started a whole new life. With her.
Welcome to True Crime Files HQ, where we uncover gripping true and fictional crime stories that keep you hooked and leave you with powerful life lessons. Thank you so much for stopping by. Your support means everything. If you love stories that shock, inspire, and make you think, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a chilling new story from us. And remember, every story hides a truth. Stay curious, stay safe.
Prison doesn't care if you're innocent. It doesn't care about your truth, your story, or how you got there. It only cares that you survive. And surviving? That's harder than it sounds. First weekend, he got jumped in the showers. 3 men, no warning. They broke 2 of his ribs and knocked out a tooth before the guards even showed up. That's when he learned the rules. Keep your head down. Don't trust anyone. Don't look soft. He took a job mopping floors. Ate fast. Slept light. The library became his escape. The gym, his therapy. At night, lying on that thin mattress with the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. He'd replay it all. The arrest. The trial. Her face on that stand. He wrote her letters. At first, they were full of confusion. Why did you do this? What did I do wrong? I forgive you. Please talk to me. No response. He kept writing. Birthday cards. Holiday notes. Apologies for things he didn't even do. Still nothing. By year 3, he stopped trying. Time in prison moves in strange ways. The days blur together, but the years carve deep. He watched men come and go. Some got out. Some didn't. Some lost their minds. Some lost their lives. He just lost hope. Year 8, a guard pulled him aside. Your mother passed. Heart attack. He stood there, silent, nodding like he understood. Can I attend the service? Not with your sentence. Sorry. That night he didn't eat. Didn't cry. Just sat in his cell staring at the wall, wondering if his mother died believing he was guilty. Year 12, something changed. He was playing cards in the yard when an old friend from Charlotte sat down. They hadn't seen each other in years. Yo, you heard about your ex-wife? He barely looked up. What about her? She's in Georgia now. Savannah, living with some woman. Got a whole new life. Heard she even got married. The cards in his hand suddenly felt heavy. Married? Yeah, man. To that nurse she used to work with. You know, the one with the tattoos. The friend kept talking, but he stopped hearing words. Just a ringing in his ears. A heat spreading through his chest. She didn't just leave him. She built a paradise on the grave. She dug for him. From that moment, something inside him rewired. The sadness turned cold. The confusion turned sharp. He stopped talking to people. Started working out harder. Read everything he could about the law, about his case, about what happened. He wasn't planning revenge yet, but he also wasn't planning to forget. By year 15, he'd become a different man. Harder, quieter, older. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't recognize a reflection, but he didn't hate it either. And when they finally opened those gates on a cold morning in his 20th year, he walked out into the sun with $1,200, a duffel bag, and a question that had burned his mind for 2 decades. Why? Comment below if you think he had a right to be angry, because what he did next, some will call it justice. Others will call it murder. He rented a room on the west side of the city. Small, cheap, just a place to sleep while he figured out his next move. He didn't want to rebuild his life. He wanted answers. He asked around carefully. Old friends, former co-workers. Someone mentioned she'd moved south. Someone else said she'd change her name. With half the money he had, he hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who didn't ask too many questions. I just need to know where she ended up, he said. That's all. 2 weeks later, the investigator came back with file. Her name was different now. She lived in Savannah, owned a house with her wife, the same woman from the hospital. They'd been together for over a decade. She worked as a nurse supervisor. They even had a kid, a little boy, 7 years old, smiling in every photo. He stared at the pictures for hours. She looked happy, healthy, free. While he rotted in a cell, she was living the life she'd always wanted. He dug deeper, found social media profiles, public posts, photos of birthday parties and beach trips and family dinners. Then he found a comment thread under an old photo. Someone had written, "Still can't believe she went that far just because she thought he cheated." He read it again, and again. Then it clicked. She thought he'd been unfaithful. Some rumor, some misunderstanding. He'd hugged a co-worker once outside the youth center. Someone must have seen it, told her, and instead of asking him about it, instead of talking, she chose to destroy him. She framed him because of a lie she believed, and she was hiding who she really was the whole time. He closed the laptop. 20 years. Gone. Because of a rumor and a secret. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he bought a bus ticket to Savannah. Savannah in the spring is beautiful. Warm breeze, blooming flowers. The kind of place where people retire to forget their problems. But he wasn't there to forget. He parked his rental car 2 blocks away and walked the rest, hands in his pockets. Calm, no rushing. The house was in a quiet neighborhood. Neat lawn, white fence, flower beds along the walkway, a child's bike lying on its side near the porch. The American dream. He knocked, footsteps inside. The door opened. She stood there in sweatpants and a loose t-shirt, hair tied up. She looked older, but not in a bad way. Just lived in. She squinted at him, confused. "Can I help you?" Then her face went pale. Her mouth opened. No sound. Behind her, his ex-wife appeared, holding a glass of iced tea. She froze mid-step. The glass slipped from her hand and exploded on the floor. "Hey," he said quietly. "It's been a while." Her wife stepped forward, hand reaching for a phone on the table. He reached into his jacket. "Don't." They both stopped. He pulled out a gun. "Black, cold, clean. Sit down." They did. He stood in the doorway, looking at the two women who destroyed his life. One who planted the drugs. One who helped cover it up. 20 years, he said, voice steady. You know how long that is? His ex-wife's lips trembled. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I swear, I thought. You thought I cheated. He cut in, so you put drugs in my car and called the cops. She started crying. I was scared. I didn't know how to leave. I didn't know how to tell anyone the truth about me. So you buried me instead. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I was young. I was stupid. I've hated myself every day since. But you didn't hate yourself enough to stop living, did you? His voice was ice. You got married, had a kid, built a whole life while I sat in a cage. Her wife spoke up, voice shaking. Look, man, I get it. You're angry. You have every right. But this isn't the way. He looked at her. You helped her. You knew what she did. I didn't. Don't lie to me. Silence. He raised a gun. If you're still watching, drop a like right now. Because what happens next will divide the comments. 2 shots. The first one hit her wife in the chest. She fell back against the couch, gasping, eyes wide with shock. The second tore through her throat. Blood sprayed across the wall. She slumped over, twitching, then still. His ex-wife screamed. She tried to run for the door, but tripped over the coffee table, hit the ground hard. He walked toward her slowly. The way you walk through rain, you've already accepted. She crawled backward, hands up, shaking so hard she could barely speak. Please, please, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'll do anything. Please, don't. You swore to tell the truth in that courtroom, he said quietly. Now tell God. He pulled the trigger. The sound echoed through the house. Then silence. He stood there for a moment, looking at the scene. Blood, bodies, broken glass. Then he walked out, closed the door behind him, and got in his car. He didn't run, didn't hide, didn't try to cover his tracks. He drove straight to the nearest police station, parked in the visitor lot, and walked inside like he was reporting a stolen wallet. The officer at the desk looked up. Can I help you? I just killed 2 people, he said calmly. I'm not sorry. He reached into his jacket, pulled out the gun, and placed it on the counter. Slide locked, barrel empty, safety on. The officer's hand went to his holster, but he didn't draw, just stared. Don't move. I'm not moving, he said. I'm turning myself in. Within minutes, the station erupted. Detectives swarmed him, cuffed him, sat him in an interrogation room with 2-way glass and a recorder running. They asked him why. He leaned forward, looked them dead in the eye, and said, She lied. She planted drugs in my car. She testified against me. I spent 20 years in prison for something I didn't do. She got to live free. I came home and finished what she started. They asked if he regretted it. He shook his head. Not even a little. His confession was typed, recorded, filed. Clean, clear, no hesitation. Back in Savannah, the scene was chaos. Police tape around the house. News vans parked down the street. Neighbors standing on porches, whispering, trying to piece it together. The little boy, 7 years old, big eyes confused, was taken in by family. No one told him the details, just that his moms were gone. In court weeks later, the prosecution didn't need to work hard. He confessed. The evidence was clear. The motive was obvious. His lawyer tried to argue temporary insanity. 2 decades of wrongful imprisonment. Trauma. PTSD. The jury didn't buy it. Neither did the judge. You took 2 lives in cold blood, she said. Regardless of what was done to you, you do not have a right to be judge, jury, and executioner. The sentence came down like a hammer. Life without parole. No gasps. No drama. Just the sound of the gavel and the shuffle of feet as they led him away. He didn't cry. Didn't beg. Just walked out the same way he walked into that house in Savannah. Stone still. Now he's back behind bars. Different prison. Same concrete. Same routine. But this time it's different. He's not confused. Not asking why. Not writing letters to people who will never respond. He knows exactly why he's here. He wakes up every morning at 5:30 when the buzzer screams through the block. Eats breakfast in silence. Mops floors. Reads in the library. Works out in the yard. Other inmates keep their distance. Not because he's violent, but because he's calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that makes people nervous. Guards don't know what to do with him. He doesn't cause trouble. Doesn't talk back. Doesn't fight. Just exists. At night, he lies on his bunk and stares at the ceiling. Sometimes he thinks about his mama. Sometimes he thinks about the kids he used to mentor. Wonders where they're now, if they remember him. Mostly, he thinks about her, not with anger anymore, not even with hate. Just nothing. She's gone. The woman who helped her is gone. The life they stole from him, still gone. But at least now, they're not living it without him. Some people say what he did was justice, that after 20 years of suffering, he had the right to take back what was stolen. Others say he's a monster, that no amount of pain justifies murder, that he should have fought through the system, tried to prove his innocence, let karma handle the rest. But here's the thing about revenge. It doesn't care about right or wrong. It only cares about balance. And in his mind, the scales are finally even. So what do you think? Was he justified? Or did he become the monster they made him out to be? Drop your answer in the comments because I want to hear every perspective. If this story shook you the way it shook me, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and share it with someone who loves true crime that cuts deep. Because stories like this, they don't just entertain. They make you question everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and justice. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. And remember, some people you trust will destroy you without blinking.